they're going to be broke the next day. The difference between them and somebody who earns $50,000 a year is the amount of money they earn and the amount of money they spend. But as a percentage, they're spending all of it and they have nothing left to show at the end of the day. They just have all the toys which would be repossessed because they're all being loaned. Yeah, lease payments. Jump in and unload the tank. Yay. Yeah, and that's, I mean, that is a good thing, and I mean, it's one of the things. What did I do? Okay, so back when we lived in Texas, we actually had something ridiculous like $18,000 in the bank, which my wife called an emergency fund. It made her feel safe. We always had $18,000 in the bank, so if any calamity happened, we would be we'd be okay. The problem was we couldn't spend any of it. So if we did have a calamity, we weren't touching that $18,000 because then it wouldn't be there. And also, we couldn't put money into the bank to replenish it. We were spending every dime we earned. And I couldn't tell you what we were spending it on because most of the time we just charged everything to a credit card. And at the end of the month, we paid a huge credit card bill. And that was the thing. Next service advised in 9 hours. Condition bad. I'll repair that. Not sure. No, I don't know if I want to service that. And that one, repair. Okay. So Massey Ferguson is now repaired. Everything's good. We put that away. But yeah, so we had the point. Yeah, we had the car payment. We had the carpet payment. We had, all the payments. Everything was the bank bought it and we paid it back. And I made an observation that the problem with our $18,000 in the bank being an emergency fund was it wasn't one, because we were scared to spend it because we couldn't put the money back. So I said, okay, if we paid off all of our debt, so we paid off the car, that was about $12,000, and we pay off the carpets. We pay off a bunch of other stuff, and my wife's like, but we'll only have $3,000 in the bank for our emergency fund. Yes, we will. But we will have $1,000 of cash coming in every month that we're not currently spending on everything. So it doesn't matter. I think, we wiped out down to $4,000, but it was basically, it will take us 14 months, and if we don't buy anything more than we're currently buying, we will have $18,000 in the bank in 14 months, just over a year. So it took a little bit of an argument to persuade her that that was the way to go, but eventually she just said, we need to pay off the car, we need to pay off the carpet, we need to do everything pay off everybody we owe, and at that point all the money we earn is ours. We get to keep it all. And at that point we basically turned our lives around because we now don't have money problems. Oh, hello! You turned the all-wheel steer on. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing a weed right there. Okay. So I'm going to drive around the field once and just grab the weeds that I see. I mean, it's generally looking okay, but we will. I should also clear the course. So yeah, it's quite surprising if you don't live on credit cards, you don't live on debt. All your money is yours, and you can save for stuff, and the stuff you save for is a lot cheaper if you pay cash for it. Just because in the majority of cases, if someone offers you a deal, oh, you pay it on some form of lease, hire, purchase, whatever, we'll give you 0% for 10 months, and we'll give you a 5% discount. You know what the typical person does is they'll take advantage of that. Oh, I missed them. And they won't pay the debt off in 6 months, at which point all the interest that they had been accruing will now absolutely add to their I'm not sure if I'm seeing that's why I can't see it when I'm going backwards, because the light. I'm not sure if I'm seeing gaps in the shadows of the trees to the left, or whether there are actually weeds right by that front left wheel. That looks like a weed. And don't know. Might have been a shadow. Yeah, I mean, vehicles are expensive to run. Even cars are expensive to run, but what was it? A couple of years ago, we had engine pressure. What's it called? When basically we had a little bit of a leak in one of the cylinders in the Saab that meant it wasn't running at pressure, so we were losing a little bit of power out of one of the cylinders. So my mechanic sort of said, you're probably going to need to replace the engine. I went home, I googled around, and it's like, it turns out it looks like GM used less than ideal valves on the engine, and over the course of 100,000 miles they get hammered flat and then don't keep the engine pressure up. So they said, oh well, we'll take a look at that. They looked at it and they said, yeah, okay, we need to replace 16 valves. And because Saab don't exist anymore and GM don't stock Saab parts anymore, we're going to have to go to somewhere like Poland to get replacement parts. So okay, fine. So they ordered the parts, they got the parts. It cost a fair amount of money to rebuild that engine, but it was damn sight cheaper than buying a new one, and it was paid for in cash. Because we had the money. So, I don't care if the car has a problem, I can fix it. I don't have extended warranty, because extended warranty is me giving money to someone else who might, out of the kindness of their heart, say, yep, the problem you have on your vehicle is covered. Unfortunately, I've bought cars where there was an extended warranty included. It was the valves. The valves themselves were not up to task. And if you Google Saab 9.3 2-litre engines, you will find that at around 100,000 miles, in the range of 2006 to 2009, I believe it was, the valves just don't hold pressure anymore because the metal's too soft, and it's a high performance sports sedan. You need good quality materials in it, and GM just decided to skim and save money. But a Saab 9.3, you can expect to have to replace the valves in the engine at about 100,000 miles. Now, if you live in Canada, it might be 80,000, and if you live in Florida, you might get 120,000 miles. But at around 100,000 miles, give or take 20,000 miles, depending on the ambient temperature of where you're driving, you will need to replace the valves. And if you go out and you buy some really decent valves, decent quality valves, then you will never have another problem with the engine. We've now had, on the new valves, we've gone 150,000 miles, and the car is absolutely fine. No problems at all. The only problem I have is the parking brake cable has snapped, so the parking brake doesn't work. But as far as everything else is concerned, the car's good. It does what it needs to, and it's good fun to drive. Oops. Okay, we did the weeds, we did the spraying, we did the stuff. We need a planter. Ah, yes. Now those are a different animal. Obviously, if you got one after, I think it was about 97, 98, you were basically using a modified Equinox frame, which was used for the Malibu. But prior to that, it was a Saab, and Saab were a different breed of people, engineers. And even when GM took over Saab, they sort of said, here's all the parts, just assemble a Saab. And the Saab engineers looked at it and said, okay, so here are all the parts, and if we tinker with them, we'll make a much better car. And GM were not very happy with them. One of the offsets of that was OnStar was installed on GM vehicles, you could get engine what's the word for it? Engine diagnostics, turn-by-turn guidance. Yeah, not if you owned a Saab, you couldn't. The Saab's OnStar, or the Saab, the OnStar system could not talk to what Saab had done with the engine. So, not that I worried about that. I didn't care about that, but a friend of mine did have the 900S, early 1990s, about 1992, 94. Really nice car, and he said the one thing he hated about it was the automatic gearbox that it came with. Because in the UK, the predominant speed limit is 80 miles an hour. Oh, sorry, is 30 miles an hour in town. And he said the big problem he had with it was 30 miles an hour was just completely wrong for the engine. It couldn't, it was constantly shifting up and down because it couldn't find a comfortable gear. He said eventually he just had to, what was it? He had the ability to, the gearbox still had a 50 mile an hour. Oh, sorry. You could select gear 1 or 2, or automatic. And he said the problem is 30 miles an hour was too fast for second gear and too slow for third gear, and so the car was constantly searching. And he said his only remedy was to force it into second gear, and he said that was the worst thing about it. Now mine, or all of the modern Saab, the GM Saabs had what is it? What German cars call Tiptronic gear shifts, which is basically you can stick it in drive, or you can shift it across to manual mode and select gears. So I never have a problem with the car trying to search for the right gear to be in, because if you can't figure it out, I'll do it myself. What angle am I heading? 308. That's a horrible angle. We'll go 300. So set a 3 cardinal and back to X. That way's 300. Okay then. That way is 300. I need to lower. Turn it on. We are planting barley, and all I have to do is drive this way, I guess. Why is it not? Oh, okay. Turn it on, and off we go. That really doesn't matter missing that bit back there, because we're going to do the headland anyway later. Yeah, when they went to GM, they had the 5-speed manual, or the automatic with manual override, whatever you want to call that. I believe the 2.7 engine, they put a 6-speed manual option, and then I think the clutchless automatic manual, whatever, they gave that 6 speeds as well. Okay, so we are 12 o'clock. I didn't set up course, so yeah, I'm just going to haul this across the field until it's full of barley. We are planting a lot of barley. That was full, and we're already down 6%. This field might not work. Also, well, okay. So the patch of weeds in front of us was last year was planted with oats. The fields on either side of it were planted with corn, maize. So we are going to have to deal with weeds in this segment, and I'm doing a direct drill, so there will be weeds coming through here next month, but that's fine. One thing we didn't do today is look at what's on sale at the store. Oh, how am I going to do this? And of course we're going to have to spray this field too, which who knows what that's going to end up looking like. Actually, this isn't bad. Made a good turn there. back on the line and drop that down. Cruise control on. Okay, we did not look. What's for sale? 7810. Nice little track. It's 175 horsepower. That's not bad. The Luxem, I think there's another one of those. Maxi Ferguson 5S and M6. One of those, which would have been, had I not bought the case. This, another Luxem. Bucket. That's a straw spreader. That's another one of those and another one of those. Okay. Just wondered. Yes, I did. Select that out. So, annoying thing here is obviously the textures that are placed. Once you've got this light texture, that's going to continue through the next field, or its next part of the field. But on the ploughed and limed surface, we get a much darker texture. So it is going to be stripy between these two textures as we plant this. Hey, back. How's the world doing? Well, it says there's 2 viewers, and I'm guessing one of them is me. That may be something I look at. I still haven't upgraded my PC, but if I do upgrade my PC, I might look at getting a second screen for it. Don't know where it's going to go. I'm going to have to completely rearrange my desk. Possibly put the PC under the desk so that it doesn't have cables reaching halfway round it. But then my feet, yeah, it gets in the way of my feet, but whatever. But then possibly getting a second screen, and then the problem is I can either mount a screen above the current one, or on the left. On the right I've got a window, so obviously you can't screw things into a glass window to hold up. And I don't have much in the way of real estate on the desk. It's kind of awkward. My gaming PC is on the narrow part of the desk. My office PC obviously is on the wide part of the desk, because that way when I have to do write notes and stuff, I've got space for doing that. When I'm playing games, not so much of a need. Yeah, well, I'm generally a civil person. Which way? That way. Very carefully. And 3, go. I generally don't like conflict, and I don't deal with I just don't talk to people who are just obnoxious. If a conversation ends up name calling, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm out. I don't need to talk to you because you're not going to listen to my point of view, and I'm not going to regard your point of view as anything sensible because all you're doing is calling names. You can have a decent conversation, and that's the difference between you and a lot of people today. And I've noticed a couple of excerpts, Tulsi Gabbard being interviewed on TV. She is the sort of person who will consider a situation and give her point of view. The problem is she's usually put up against people who just don't think. They just, this is what I believe. Why do you believe it? And it's almost because I was told to, not because I've actually thought the situation out. And I'm not going to listen to anything you say, even though what you say might actually be really sensible. I don't agree with her on a lot of things, but she's considerate and she'll hold a conversation. And she will discuss the merits and the pitfalls. In England, there was a politician called Ken Livingstone. He was a communist. He ran the Greater London Council. I did not agree with anything he stood for, but I respected him because all of his conversation, he would back up his belief with rational conversation. And you could listen to him and say, okay, I can understand where you're coming from. I don't agree with it, but I can understand where you're coming from. Whereas most other politicians believe what I tell you because I'm a politician and I'm better than you. Ken Livingstone wasn't that. I would never vote for him, but I did respect him. And he won when the Greater London Council was disbanded. He